Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today we are here to do my full review of the new Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan film, Sinners, that is in the theaters right now as we speak. We're going to go over my thoughts, we're going to break down this film, and I'm going to let you know that while it is a great film, it also might be one that you've seen before. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. All right, so Sinners. I took my son's 14. I'm a horror filmmaker. If this is your first time here, I make horror films. I took him to see it. He's getting into horror. We went and saw it just a couple of days ago. Saw it on the big screen like you're supposed to, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I enjoyed it so much, and he did too. He loved it. We went right out to the car. I got home. I pre-ordered the 4K Steelbook right off the bat. So right off the bat, I want to say that I really did love the film. And another thing I want to get out of the way right now, in case there was any question from anyone, Michael B. Jordan is a movie star. He is an old school movie star that commands the screen. You want to watch him. You want to see what he's going to do. He just has those old school movie star vibes to him that you just don't get that much anymore. He has it. It just comes off of him in waves. I said it a long time ago. A lot of people forget that he was on the show Friday Night Lights. In that show, he was a young man, and even then, he had it. And I still think that's one of the best things that he's done. I tell people that all the time. So if you haven't seen that show, go check it out. He's in like the last 2 seasons. It makes more sense if you build up to that, but it is a really good performance in that. And of course, Creed, all that kind of stuff. This is probably his best performance. I think it'd be kind of hard to argue that it isn't. But Friday Night Lights is right up there. But either way, old school movie star, just plain and simple. And the movie itself was really good, very immersive, beautiful as a filmmaker, beautiful to look at in so many respects, just shot beautifully. The pacing is a little, and I don't care about runtimes. People complain about runtimes. I don't care about runtimes, but pacing can start to be an issue in it. And the horror stuff doesn't start, if you're a horror fan, the horror stuff doesn't start till about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through the movie. And that's where we kind of start to dive into some of the issues and some of the big discussions around this movie. So I've heard a lot of people, and of course this is going to be culturally different. You're going to have difference of opinion, all that kind of stuff. Fine, whatever. We're going to talk about that stuff too. I've heard people say, well, if you think that there was no horror in the first 3/4 of the movie, then you missed what horror is about. Listen, y'all, everything isn't always that deep. If you market something as a horror film, then don't get mad at people for expecting horror film. And don't say, oh, well, it's because it went over your head and you missed this. And the real horror was the Jim Crow South and where this was depicted in 1930s Mississippi. And that was the real horror. And they were afraid and living under that rule. Did you watch the same movie? Because Smoke and Stack, you got Michael B. Jordan playing twins. They're not afraid of shit. They're not afraid of anything. And they talk in the film about how they traveled the world in all these different ways, how they worked for Al Capone. They experienced the city. They've done all of these things, and they come back to this small town. And I'm from the South, and I'm from the South, y'all, like the very rural. That town in Sinners, there's towns like that not far from me right now. And the town that I grew up in, where my great-grandparents had a farm that were sharecroppers, they were sharecroppers, just like what was going on with Preacher Boy's father and Preacher Boy. They were sharecroppers. So that town looked like the town I spent a lot of time running. We didn't even have that many stores in our town. So, you know, the South is always muddily depicted in Hollywood. They struggle with it sometimes. They get a lot of things right here, but to say these people that Smoke and Stack were afraid of the horrors of the Jim Crow South, they literally show up, and within the first few hours, one of them is shooting people in the street without fear of getting in any kind of trouble at all. They're not afraid of getting in any kind of trouble. I mean, just blatantly in front of everyone, takes his gun out and shoots people. And he's not worried about getting in trouble. He has no fear. And Smoke and Stack have money that they've apparently stolen. They've got this big heist, and they go and buy this land and this building that they're going to make their juke joint on from a white guy. And they literally, in the Jim Crow South, tell this white guy, this is all the money you're ever getting from us, and if you show back up here, I will kill you and all of your friends. And I mean, they threaten him all the way. So you want to say, oh, well, the real horror went over your head because you missed this. They weren't scared of anything. They weren't afraid of none of that. So you can't have that go both ways. The point is, it was marketed as a horror film, and it's the same knock that is on a movie that if you've seen this movie, you've seen Sinners in a lot of ways. It was the same knock on From Dusk Till Dawn. So it has nothing to do with any of the other stuff. It's just you're expecting a horror movie. The horror movie actually doesn't show up till the very end. That doesn't mean the movie isn't good and it's not interesting as hell, because it certainly is. Don't get mad at people who are expecting a vampire horror film to be like, why the hell didn't that show up until the last few minutes of the movie? Everything isn't that deep, all that kind of stuff. They missed it. No, they were showed an action horror movie, and that's not what they got till the very end. So give those people some grace, because horror fans expect a certain amount of stuff if they're marketed as a horror film. That doesn't mean you can't bend things and subvert expectations and all that kind of stuff. But the world building that occurs during that time is awesome. What I'm going to tell you is, I think the film was done. I think Coogler did a great job with this film. But I keep hearing words and things thrown around like revolutionary, visionary, unique, nothing like it before. Excuse me? This movie is almost beat for beat From Dusk Till Dawn. Like, it is From Dusk Till Dawn, set in 1930s Jim Crow, Mississippi. It is From Dusk Till Dawn. It's two brothers, outlaw brothers that people don't mess with. They've got a big score. They're trying to get to where they can have freedom, however you want to slice that. Both the things, like all of that is the exact same. They end up in a bar/juke joint, music playing, cultural heavy, bar, music, juke joint. And then vampires show up. And at the end of the movie, and they have to fight and have a standoff and all of that kind of stuff. It's the same movie. So, and it doesn't really stop there. That doesn't knock it down. Understand, anytime I see somebody completely unique, there is nothing new under the sun, which is going to lead me into one of the other discussions about the film. The vampires are literally in this movie portrayed as parasitic white guys that want to basically suck the life out of and culturally appropriate things, which is funny because the movie itself is a vampire film and vampires are like, that's a European folklore that's being used. So just kill all that noise. You know what I mean? Like nobody, everything there's nothing new. Everything comes from pieces of somewhere, of something. So like that's just like a weak sauce thing to me to do. And it's particularly on a film that's so beat for beat close to From Dusk Till Dawn. But like I said, it doesn't stop there. And I know like some of you might be thinking, wait, you said this is a great movie. It is a great movie. Being inspired by other great films and great stories. And then there is a line in one of my favorite movies of all time that this movie borrows from, Crossroads by Walter Hill. This deals with the devil, blues music, how it transcends all of these things that you also find in the movie Sinners. There's a great line in this movie by Joe Seneca, who plays Blind Dog Willie. And at the end of the movie, Lightning Boy Eugene wants to travel around with him and play blues music. And he says, we'll do that to an extent. But then you have to go out on your own. You have to take the music somewhere further than you found it.
You gotta move on without me. Take the music someplace else. Take it past where you found it. Because that's what we did.
You have to take that story somewhere further than you found it. So you might be inspired and learn from and borrow from a great story, great cultures from throughout history, all that kind of stuff. You might borrow from these things, but then it's up to you to take them further down the line. And that's what I kept thinking about. Like, if we kind of stopped and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself a little bit, but like, if we kind of stopped worrying about the gatekeeping of who, well, so-and-so invented this, or so-and-so came up with this, and you can't use it, like, all that stuff, like, I kind of want to say it's like, so because of this, the film has like significant problems sometimes with particularly like story elements, like theming, because you're saying the vampires are, I mean, it's kind of contradictory, because you're saying the vampires are white guys who want to culturally appropriate, parasitic, live off of the cultural richness and the stories, and pull in the stories and the music and all of this stuff of another kind of cooler, better culture. But like, you're borrowing from other movies, from other folklore that's Eastern European and all this kind of stuff. So, it's like, instead of worrying about that kind of stuff, worry about how it can all transcend and bring us together. And he almost gets there. He almost goes that route, but he can't let himself do it. He's got to go back to that message that's in there. And I will say that most movies today that come out, they have like their allegories for like one of a few things. It's like either racism, sexism, social justice, or Trump, or whatever. Like it's some kind of politics. Like it's all in like at the forefront of everything. This movie was more enjoyable than most I've seen in a long time, because it isn't pounding it was put in. There was stuff in there that I still feel like it's like, why? Is it bad for someone else to love part of your culture? Is it bad for us to share in each other's cultures? I don't understand that. Like, and I grew up a very big, huge blues fan. I'm going to play some like blues music. My uncle, musician, played blues. I was inspired by this movie and by blues music to write a movie called Dark Road 79. I'm so enthralled with the whole idea. I own everything Robert Johnson that I can get. I've been to Yazoo, Mississippi, and on into Clarksdale, to where the supposedly like real crossroads are. I've been to the other two places that claim to be the Robert Johnson crossroads, like on the it's like a farm and plantation, and the other one is like Rosalind. There's two other places that also claim to be, and just for that vibe. And I wrote it into my movie Dark Roads and that mythology and stuff like that. So I grew up with it, very Southern, very rural. So it wasn't that very mixed area. So it wasn't like that stuff was far away from me. So I don't understand I don't understand gatekeeping that. Why we wouldn't want to share the beautiful like parts of our heritage and cultures. Because I mean, like blues itself is an amalgamation of like traditional African stuff that was brought over, but also like other musics, and he does kind of touch on that, but then he leaves it. There is a good message kind of from the Bad Vampire that's like, we can share in all of this together. And I don't know why, like, it's like this good message that he vilifies. He vilifies the message of like, let's be one community. Let's share in all of this. Let's make all of these great things something that's universal for us. And why you want, like, vilifying that idea is very confusing to me.
If you can't see the obvious message behind parasitic white vampires infiltrating a prosperous and exuberant expression of black culture to literally suck the life out of it for their own benefit, then well, maybe movies aren't quite your thing.
I don't want to be limited to one thing. I love all kinds of things. Just like I love all kinds of movies, all kinds of art. And once you create art, I'm very particular about this. Once you create art, or create an art form in some way, I mean, it's very hard to claim that as just your own because, yes, you might own a painting or you might legally own a movie that you make, but once you share that with the world, people interpret it and take it further down the road other places than you found it. So, like, there's that in there, and I don't understand wanting to vilify that. And then there's things I really appreciate and other things that really confuse me, like, Coogler went through great lengths to like make sure he got all of the hoodoo in the movie that's being done correct, like hired an advisor, all this stuff, a historical advisor, because it's hoodoo that is being practiced in this movie, not voodoo. Those are two separate things. So there's hoodoo that's being practiced in this movie, and he made sure that he got all of that right. But he also implies in the movie that that basically Christianity was forced on all Africans and even on like Irish people, because the Irish vampire says that the white people that came forced these words on us too. If this is your first time here, I'm other than a filmmaker, I'm a history. I was a history professor. I taught history. Like you should probably have done a little bit of research because, to be honest, Christianity was in Ethiopia long before it came to Europe. So, I mean, while there's always going to be history and things where people do stuff that they shouldn't in the name of whatever, it existed in Africa and Ethiopia before it went to Europe. It actually came to Alexandria before that. So it's just not historically accurate, and you're making a whole like statement on something. So it was just kind of interesting that you went through these great links over here to make sure you had something accurate, and then you just threw like some kind of like popular tripe over here. And I mean, wouldn't be a big deal except for you make it a central point of the discussion. So I find that interesting. And we all have our biases. And again, these are things that didn't spoil the movie for me. I was thoroughly entertained by this movie. Had me anxious, man, sitting on the edge of my seat. I'm like watching my heart rate go up and down, all this kind of stuff. I'm anxious. I'm like sitting here, like rubbing my chest, sitting here back and forth. Like I was enthralled. So I don't want to give you the impression that I wasn't, but I make films. I write about films. I do all that kind of stuff. So you talk about them in all different kinds of ways. I don't just fanboy out, no, it's the greatest, or, oh, it's the shittiest. That's not film discussion. But when I say you've seen this movie before, You have. Because not only is it Dusk Till Dawn retold, it is Crossroads. There is a scene in Crossroads that reflects a scene in here that everybody talks about. So there, he makes this point about how Preacher Boy, the main character, great performance by this kid that just now started. I'm old, so he's a kid to me. And his father is a preacher. And he's basically talking about the devil's music, which I write about in Dark Roads. I heard that as a kid, it's the devil's music, all that kind of stuff. So he talks about how if the music is in such a way that it transcends, it opens a portal to like it summons the devil basically. At the same time, it can open the door to these great things, the past, the present, the future, all this kind of stuff that transcends. But with that transcendence, it attracts the other, right? It attracts the evil. That all point was made in here, in Crossroads, like big time. And the scene is super cool because you have like past, present, future taking place. They're kind of transported instantly, but it brings that evil. It calls that evil to show up. In here, they Blind Dog is trying to get out of his deal with the devil that he made at the Crossroads, and he takes Lightning Boy down to the Crossroads, and the first thing he tells him is, you got to go over there and play, so he'll show up. And he just starts playing blues, and he's like, you got to really play them blues for him to show up. And he plays the blues, and the devil just appears. He shows up. But then it goes further than that, because now the devil is there, and it transcends. It opens a door to somewhere else, because he's like, well, how are we supposed to get to this place where we're going to have this competition at this juke joint for our souls? And the devil's like, well, I can get us there real fast. And the whole thing changes, and they're literally transported. And like Ralph Macchio, they didn't know where the hell he is. He's been transported to this place, this other juke joint where all this music and all these people are there. And if you look, they're dressed like they're from another time period and all that kind of stuff. So it is the same kind of concept. So it's not something that is brand new. It was a cool scene, somewhat confusing. You have to really like be thinking about it. It also implies that like every culture except for white culture has music, because he doesn't show any of that. And you have Haley Steinfeld in there. So like it's like past, present, and future. You see, all kinds of people from different cultures except for white, except for Europe, any kind of that. Like you see, you even see like a geisha dancing, like all this kind of stuff. So it's like, it's exclusionary in that way. And I don't need it to be representative. I don't need to be represented in everything. I just want to watch movies. But at the same time, you can't complain about it over here and then do the same thing to people over here. Kind of hypocritical. But the scene itself, also super cool, interesting in some ways, confusing in some ways, has been done. In not exactly the same, but the whole concept is very similar. And then you could argue that the movie is Demon Night, Tales from the Crypt, Demon Night. Very much vampires outside want to get in, all this kind of stuff. Very similar, very borrowed from that. And then there is a scene in this movie that you have seen in two very famous films. Very famous. And I do think he actually mentioned this one, but there's a scene where they do the garlic test, which actually doesn't make sense because at this point, there's not really a way any of them would be a vampire without them knowing it. But they do a garlic test where they all have to eat a piece of garlic. And it is the blood test scene from The Thing. It is the scat drug test scene from The Faculty. 1,000,000%. So Coogler, I'm guessing Coogler is a Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez fan because he's borrowed from them big time. when you want to go back to From Dusk Till Dawn, because those scenes are totally those two scenes. The faculty borrowed it from The Thing. This was both of them put together. So again, that's a great homage though. Like, I don't have any problem with doing it. And he's not out here calling himself a visionary or saying he completely did something completely unique. Other people are saying that. So that's not his fault. But it's people get so hyped on things, they forget what came before. I'm reminded of a couple years ago when the Gen Z TikTokers thought they invented Coke floats, and they were like having viral videos going where they went to McDonald's and got a vanilla ice cream and put it in a Coke, thinking they invented Coke floats. Like, it's funny to me. Like, that kind of goes back to my argument that everything kind of comes from somewhere. The important thing is to take it and embrace it, love it, and then take it past where you found it. But if you go back to From Dusk Till Dawn, my man Cody Leach, who reviews, I watched his review on this film, and he's like, it gets pretty racy too. Coogler has like a conversation about eating pussy. Go back to From Dusk Till Dawn. There's a very famous scene discussion about that very thing in From Dusk Till Dawn.
Richie, would you do me a favor and eat my for me?
So it's like, again, it was in there too, and it's the exact same movie in many ways. So it does have some, again, though, he took that, all those concepts that he clearly loves that inspired him, and then he took it past it where he found it. He took that idea past where he found it. And like the idea of having Michael B. Jordan play two roles definitely upped the budget of the film. Could have been done cheaper if they were just two brothers that were like a year or two apart, and it would have been much cheaper, and it wouldn't have changed the story really at all. But he decided to do that cool spin on it. And Michael B. Jordan's performance, y'all, is that good. It's that good. Like, he needs to be considered, in my opinion. They never consider horror movies for stuff, hardly. He needs to be considered for an Oscar. I think he was that good, because I don't know if anybody knows how hard it is to play two roles like that. He's a movie star, man. Like, he is that good. I still my son's gonna stand up and clap in the theater. So it is a movie I like. So understand this, that like the criticisms and critiques, that's what we do when we dive into films. That's the whole point of discussing them. Discussing them, it keeps them alive. It takes them from where they are past where we found them. And I think that all of that is there, and there's so much to enjoy. The world building. Now, I'm particular about Southern accents and stuff. Those hit and miss because I'm very Southern, and I grew up in, all in these areas. So I think about that, and sometimes it just takes me a few minutes to get into it because I'm like, it's Hollywood's idea of a Southern accent. So, you get past that, and there's other things. For me, though, one of the hidden things nobody really talking about in this movie, they're talking about the newcomer who, plays Preacher Boy. Nobody's talking about Delroy Lindo. Delroy Lindo in this movie damn near steals every scene he's in. Like, you want to see him on screen more. He's very reminiscent, again, in here of Willie Brown, because Willie Brown is an old alcoholic blues man that was once famous, once popular, all this kind of stuff. And now he's kind of beaten down. He's trying one last thing, but when it's time, when the chips are down, he's going to stand up and he's going to stand between the devil and Lightning Boy. And Delroy Lindo does that too. When it's time to fight, the devil's going to have to come through him first. I just think he steals every scene he's in. I recommend seeing more than once. I definitely recommend seeing more than once. And I think it's one of those movies that that kind of comes over you in waves, and you kind of you kind of feel differently about it at different times and different parts of it that you think, and that is the sign of a good movie too. Because like the vampire in the movie, he's evil because he's a vampire. He plays Remick, who is like a Irish vampire. We don't know how old he is, but you know, he wants to bring people together. He says, I want to absorb your memories, your consciousness, your culture, your music, all of that stuff. And I can do it through biting you and you can be like me. And Coogler's like, this is an allegory for white people culturally appropriating everything. And then there is no other cultures left. That's what he's saying. But it's like, if we all have a culture as human beings and, you know, you can like this from my culture and I can like that from your culture and we experience these things together, doesn't that give more common ground? It doesn't erase what you are or what you had. You're taking it, all this great stuff, and you're taking it further down than where you found it. And it's portrayed as evil in the movie. But then you see them, and when the vampires are bitten and they come together, they are happy. And so it's a very confusing, kind of hypocritical narrative because they are happy. It reminded me of like you've got all these vampires out there dancing and he's doing an Irish jig and all that kind of stuff. And it's like you're telling them that that's the bad part. That like, essentially, it's an allegory for saying you're trading your soul, the soul of who you are, the soul of your culture. If you're a traitor almost, if you share those things with other cultures. That part of it I don't dig as a good message. Because I feel like the more we share things with each other, the more we embrace each other. And so maybe that just sounds like pie in the sky wishing, but man, that's gotta be started somewhere. So, you know, that part is just kind of narratively inconsistent to me. The vampire stuff at the end, not crazy about how the vampires look. The blood doesn't look good. Just from a horror filmmaking standpoint, the blood doesn't look good. It looks very watery. Doesn't look like blood. It's got weird like spurts that it's not the best. There's some squidgy CGI in there sometimes too. And they used AI in some of it, and you can tell right away. So not a fan of that part of it, especially in a film that has the feeling that it does. And it's a very contrived way that makes no sense that the vampires can enter. Like it's stupid. The way that comes about, like, makes no sense. And then the very ending of the movie kind of just is a blindside out of nowhere. It is explained with like a one-line drop that the Klan, that the KKK or whatever these guys that they bought the farm from were going to come the next day and kill them all. And nowhere was that said. Nowhere was that implied. Now, Smoke and Stack threatened to kill him when they bought the place from him and to kill all his friends. So that probably wasn't a good start. But it's forgotten. Like that person is like, they're not even in the rest of the movie. None of that applies anything else. None of it does. And you try to save it by showing like a hood in this one house. But you don't even know these people are connected to anyone else. So that is very much weak sauce. It's thrown in with one line. The vampire like supposedly bit one of them, and he has his memories and like they're gonna come kill you. That's it. And the vampire is evil, but you're gonna completely take that on faith. So the next day you're gonna set up to just wipe out and kill all these people. That's very contrived ending. It's almost like you didn't know how to end it. Because there's actually a couple of endings. The true ending, you got to wait through credits for. So that's muddled. It's a cool action sequence at the end. But the vampire stuff was so rushed. We took so much time building this world, getting there, and then the vampire stuff is super rushed. Man, if it's like, that's the one thing that's different in From Dusk Till Dawn. We took a long time getting there in From Dusk Till Dawn, but then they get there, they come in, there's this big rush, and the vampire shit all happens. And then there's like this moment for a little while where they can kind of start to figure things out, talk, plan, you kind of catch your breath, you know, kind of with the wolves at the door, so to speak. And then we go back into more vampire stuff. This just, it's like, oh shit, we've only got like 30 minutes left of a 2.5 hour movie. We got to hurry up and get the vampire stuff in here. And it goes too fast, and it sucks because Remick, the head vampire, is super interesting. Super interesting. And then there's a Native American, like, they're like vampire hunters, basically is what they are, that are super cool too. Like, I want to know more about them. And like, these threads all just get left for this other stuff, and then it gets rushed. And so from a horror standpoint, it can leave you wanting just a little bit. But I know it sounds like in some ways I don't like, I loved it. I pre-ordered it already. My son loved it. You know, all that kind of stuff. Because I'm always saying, if you want to put a message in the movie, don't beat people over the head with it. It toes that line. It gets close to beating you over the head in some spots. And there's inaccuracies for sure. But the storytelling and the filmmaking is so good that you lose yourself anyway. So that's the kind of stuff that actually gets points across more, which is why I wish that it was more of a uniting message rather than the embrace. It's almost like the embracing of each other's cultures is evil. And that sucks, man. But that's just my interpretation of it. As a filmmaker, a writer, someone who taught film and all that kind of stuff. But I still loved the movie. And I'll be interested to watch it again and again. Can't wait to see it at home, see how that changes the experience. Got my pre-order in for it. And I'm sure there's a million other things I was going to talk about in this, but I'm already, this thing is just going so long. That shows you, too, how interesting the movie is. And Michael B. Jordan, as Mike Tyson would say, I take my hand off to you. It is a hell of a performance, man. A hell of a performance. And that's what I got for you this time. Don't normally do these, but I wanted to throw it out there because it's just damn interesting, and I enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments, and be nice down there. It is art, and art is subjective. Remember that. Art is subjective, and I'm out here. I just love movies of all kinds. I love blues music. I've always been. So, like, this movie was a must-see for me. So I love the fact that my son was interested and loved it. I hope it gets people to go watch this movie more. I did my homage to this in Dark Road 79. I had Eddie George, the NFL Hall of Famer, came in for me and played Robert Johnson in that movie because I love it so much, and I've been so enthralled with that story my whole life. And you know, like he says in here, try to take it past where you found it and spread it. And that is a better message, I believe, right there. And that's what I got for you. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, ring that bell. If you want to help support the channel, you can join at my YouTube link or on my Patreon. I can do uncensored stuff over there. I don't have to worry about YouTube, so it gets a little more videos over there. But no matter what, you're going to get your name and lights on every single video here. Behind the scenes looks at my filmmaking, special members only videos, and so much more. And y'all, it really does help out the channel because we do it all here. Movie reviews, 4K reviews, physical media news, big lists, rankings, recommendations videos, because I love it. I'm a fan and a filmmaker. And until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AVA Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Be nice to each other out there. Bye-bye.
I know.